So we just saw some ways to describe variability, and now we're going to combine these to create numerical and graphical representations of distributions. These are the 5-number summary and box plots. So the 5-number summary of a distribution gives a numerical representation of variability, and then we can use that to create a box plot, which is a graphical representation of a distribution. So first let's look at the 5-number summary, and this consists of the smallest observation, or the minimum, the first quartile, the median, the third quartile, and the largest observation, or the maximum, written in order from smallest to largest. So that's what it looks like in symbols. So once we have all of those numbers, we just write them in order, and that gives us the 5-number summary. So let's take a look at an example. So I'm going back to my chart with the 2011 model year vehicles with their city and highway miles per gallon. And previously we found the city miles per gallon. We found all of these values. The minimum is 16. The first quartile Q1 is 17. The median is 19. The third quartile Q3 is 22, and the maximum is 51. So to get our 5-number summary, we just write all of those in order, and that will look like this. So that's pretty easy. Once you have found all of those numbers, it's just a matter of writing them down. Next, let's take a look at the box plot. A box plot is a graph of the 5-number summary. So to make that, first we draw a central box that spans the quartiles Q1 and Q3. Then we draw a line somewhere inside the box that marks the median M of the data set. And finally, we draw lines that extend out from the box to the smallest and largest observations. So let me draw a picture of what that's going to look like. So if I've got an axis here, and I'm going to draw my box plot in this area. Let's say my minimum is at this point. My first quartile Q1 is here, my median M is here, my third quartile Q3 is up here, and my maximum is up at the top here. First I draw a box that goes from Q1 up to Q3. So that will look something like this. Next, I draw a line where the median is through the middle of the box. And finally, I draw lines going out to my maximum at the top and then to my minimum at the bottom. So that will be what a box plot will look like. So let's go back to our example, and we'll draw a couple for our chart with the mileage of the cars. So here I've copied my 5-number summary for the city miles per gallon, and I've also found the 5-number summary for the highways mile per gallon, and we're going to compare the two by drawing both of their box plots. So let's do the city first. So Q1 is this number and Q3 is this number, so my city mile per gallon box is going to go from 17 up to 22. So 17 is around here, and then 22 is up here. So I've got a pretty small box for my city mile per gallon. And my median is at 19, which is about here on my chart, so I could draw a line there. Next, I need to make the lines extending up to my maximum and going down to my minimum. So my minimum is 16, which is right here. I've just got a tiny line coming out of the bottom going down to 16. My max is all the way up here at 51. So I've got a line, a long line coming out of the top. Sorry, it's a little crooked. So there's my box plot for city miles per gallon. Now let's draw the one for highways mile per gallon. So there my box is going to go from 25 to 32.5. 25 is right on this line here. 32.5 is exactly in between 30 and 35 there. So there's that box. Now my median is at 27, which is about here. And my minimum is 24. So again, my line for my minimum is not coming down very far from my box. And my maximum is 48. So that goes up to about there. So that finishes my box plots. So let's do a little comparison here. So you can see by looking at this picture that I've got a much bigger range for my city miles per gallon, but my central box is a lot shorter, which means that the middle half of the observations are kind of squished into a smaller space than they are in the highway miles per gallon. So the middle half of the highway miles per gallon span a bigger area than of the city miles per gallon, even though the overall range is much smaller for highway miles per gallon. So here are those boxes drawn a little bit nicer. And that finishes up that example. So this was a short section. Things you should know from this section. You should be able to find the 5-number summary of a set of observations. And you should be able to create a box plot from a 5-number summary.